Relax, Marcus whispered as we walked past the food court. You're too tense, man. It's just another Saturday. Another Saturday, I muttered, gripping the paper cup in my hand tighter than I meant to. Another Saturday of fake smiles and side eyes. You don't hear it like I do? Marcus sighed. I hear it. Don't let it eat me alive. I looked at him. His shoulders were relaxed, his grin soft, but I could see the way his fingers drummed against his thigh. Nerves he wouldn't name. It's always easier to pretend you don't notice, I said. Until the joke's on you. Two teens darted past us, laughing, shoving each other playfully. Black kids, maybe 14, 15, carefree, the kind of laughter I once had before I knew what it meant to be the punchline. Marcus nodded at them. See, they're just being kids. Don't project all your storms on them. Storms find us whether we want them or not, I whispered. The words came out harsher than I expected. We stopped near the escalator, leaning against the glass rail. A group of men in polo shirts strolled by, their voices carrying. One of them chuckled. Man, did you see that guy? Walking in here like he owned the place. Probably spent his whole paycheck on those shoes. The others laughed. Quick, sharp bursts that bounced off the tiled walls. I froze. They weren't talking about me this time. Maybe about someone else. But the sting was the same, the casual dismissal, the careless way they reduced someone to nothing. Marcus touched my arm. Ignore them. Tell me something, I asked, eyes still locked on the men's backs as they disappeared into the crowd. Why is it always laughter? Why does it always feel like a joke when it's us? He didn't answer right away. He chewed his lip, then shrugged. Because they think if they laugh, it's harmless. Just words. Just noise. Noise? I scoffed. It echoes, it sticks. You can't wash it off, Marcus whispered, almost pleading. Don't carry it all, brother. You'll break. I looked at him, my chest tight. One day, Marcus, their words won't just roll off our backs. One day, they'll cut so deep, even silence won't be enough to heal it. The teens came back into view, arms full of shirts they'd grabbed from a rack. One of them grinned, holding up a crisp white hoodie. Man, this is fire. You think I can pull this off? His friend laughed. You? Bro, you can barely pull off socks. They both cracked up, and for a moment, the mall felt lighter. Their joy pushed back the shadows. Marcus smiled at them. See? Just kids. That's what life should sound like. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to hold on to that laughter, bottle it before the world twisted it into something ugly. But the knot in my stomach told me different. I'd lived too long to mistake innocence for protection. I stepped closer, calling out gently, You two buying all that today? The taller one beamed. Yeah, been saving up. First time we get to buy our own stuff, no mom choosing it. The smaller one smirked. And no sisters clowning us either? Their laughter warmed me. It reminded me of my first time, holding crumpled bills in my sweaty palm, standing in front of a counter where the cashier never looked me in the eye. I forced a smile. Enjoy it, boys. Enjoy every second. Marcus gave me a side look, whispering, Why you sound like a warning? Because it always comes, I murmured. He frowned. You don't know that. Not today, I didn't answer. My throat felt heavy. As we followed the boys toward the clothing store, the hum of the mall thickened. Conversations blurred, shoppers debating sales, kids begging for ice cream, footsteps on polished tiles, yet underneath it all, I heard it. A low chuckle from behind the counter, sharp enough to slice through the air. A voice dripping with disdain. Here we go again. They always come in packs. The boys didn't hear. They were too excited, arms full of clothes, eyes shining. But I heard, and I felt the shift, the storm rolling in. Marcus leaned closer, whispering, Don't get into it today. My jaw clenched. I don't start it, Marcus. They do, he sighed, rubbing his face. But you always finish it, I didn't reply. My heart beat against my ribs like fists against a locked door. The teens pushed open the glass door of the store, laughter spilling inside with them. I followed, my chest heavy with dread. Because deep down I knew their laughter wouldn't last, and neither would the silence that followed. Hey, stop right there! The store manager's voice cracked like a whip. The boys froze mid-step, arms full of folded shirts. One of them looked back nervously, mumbling, We were just gonna try these on. Try on? The manager sneered, stomping toward them. His finger jabbed the air. Empty your pockets before I call security. My stomach nodded. I knew that tone. It wasn't suspicion. It was accusation dressed up as authority. The taller boy whispered, trembling. Sir, we didn't steal anything. The manager smirked. That's what you all say. Seen it 100 times. Run in laughing, run out lighter. Not in my store. My hand tightened into a fist. Not in my store. Not in my country. Not in my skin. The same refrain, every generation. The younger boy's voice cracked. We were just shopping. Shopping? The manager barked a bitter laugh. You think you belong in these clothes? These aren't for wannabe thugs. I stepped forward before I realized I was moving. My voice shook, low but sharp. They're paying customers. Why are you treating them like criminals? The man turned, eyebrows arched high. And who are you? Their babysitter? The silence behind me felt heavier than his words. Shoppers lingered near racks, eyes darting but mouths sealed shut. A mother tugged her child closer. A man whispered, Don't get involved. The taller boy swallowed hard, setting his shirts down. We saved up for this, he whispered. We didn't touch anything else. The manager loomed over him, eyes narrowed. You'll say anything once you're caught. Don't play dumb. Show me your pockets. I'm not stealing. The boy's voice cracked, almost pleading. His hands shook as he gripped the hem of his hoodie. The younger one muttered, Why won't anyone help us? His eyes flicked to the crowd, searching. No answer. Just silence. Silence that screamed complicity. My chest burned. That silence is the oldest betrayal I know. They'd rather protect their peace than our dignity. I stepped closer. You don't get to humiliate children in public to satisfy your suspicion. The manager's smirk deepened. Humiliate? If they've got nothing to hide, then what's the problem? I snapped louder this time. The problem is you never asked anyone else to prove their innocence. Just them! Just because of their skin! Gasps rippled in the crowd. A woman muttered, He's right. But her voice faded quickly, swallowed by fear. The younger boy whispered, voice shaking, Why us? The manager leaned down, close enough to tower. Because you fit the pattern. That's why. My throat went dry. Pattern. Code word. Excuse. I've heard it in classrooms, offices, airports. Pattern. Always us. Always suspicion first. Humanity second. The taller boy's shoulders slumped, but then his chin lifted. We didn't do anything wrong, he murmured, defiance breaking through. The manager's lips curled. Keep talking. Security's on their way. Let's see what they think of your little story. The words stung me like a slap. Security. The oldest trick, stack the deck. Call more uniforms, multiply the power imbalance. I breathed hard, whispering to myself, Don't let him bury them. Don't let this silence win again. I raised my voice, turning toward the crowd. Are you all just going to watch this? 2 kids being treated like thieves for daring to buy clothes? Eyes flickered. A man cleared his throat, then looked away. A teenager lifted a phone halfway, then lowered it. Fear everywhere. The manager barked, This isn't your business. Step aside before you get tossed out, too. The taller boy whispered to me, voice breaking. Should we just leave? I looked at him, my chest tightening. No, leaving means he wins. You belong here as much as anyone. The younger one's eyes filled with tears. It's not fair. I crouched slightly, lowering my voice. I know, it never feels fair. But your worth isn't decided by his suspicion. The manager snapped. Enough of your speeches. Empty those pockets now. I shot him a glare. Their dignity isn't yours to strip. The silence pressed harder, suffocating, like the air itself had turned against me. Every heartbeat felt like a drum echoing. Speak. Resist. Break the silence. I turned back to the crowd, voice trembling but firm. You all see this. If you say nothing, then you are part of it. Your silence is permission, whispers rippled. A woman muttered, It's wrong. Another man hissed at her. Shh, don't start something. The taller boy clenched his fists, whispering, I just wanted a hoodie. The younger boy whispered back, And now they think we're criminals. Their words pierced me. Memories clawed back. Me at their age, accused of pocketing gum I never touched, the cashier's eyes cold, the crowd's silence crushing. I straightened, my chest heaving. That ends here. The manager's smirk faltered just slightly. Big words. Let's see if you still talk once security gets here. And then, as if on cue, the mall's loudspeaker buzzed overhead. Security! Report to aisle 7. The sound sliced through me like a blade. The boys looked at me with wide eyes. The younger one whispered, "What do we do now?" I clenched my jaw. We stand. We stand and let them choke on their own silence. Don't make a scene, a woman whispered behind me, her voice thin, afraid, like she was asking me to shrink for her comfort. I spun toward her, heat rising in my chest. The scene was made the second he humiliated them. My words came out sharper than I planned, but I didn't regret them. The store manager laughed, a cruel little snicker. Why don't you people learn to behave? My fists trembled. You people. I'd heard those words since childhood, in classrooms, in job interviews, in airports where my skin was treated like contraband. Every time it was spit disguised as language. The taller boy murmured, almost to himself, "We didn't do anything." His hands shook as he clutched the folded hoodie. The younger one whispered, "Why's everyone just watching?" His eyes darted desperately to the crowd. No answer, just silence. Shoppers stood frozen, mouths tight, eyes sliding away when mine tried to catch them. A man pulled his daughter closer. Another woman whispered, "Let it go. It's not worth it." I snapped, voice quivering with rage. Not worth it? Their dignity isn't worth defending? Their humanity isn't worth your breath? A man in a suit muttered, "Calm down, you're overreacting." Overreacting? I barked back, my throat burning. He accused children of theft for daring to shop. And you call me the problem? The manager folded his arms, smirking like he'd won. Always the same. Loud, angry, turning nothing into drama. My vision blurred for a moment. Nothing. My skin, their innocence, our worth. It's always nothing to him. Nothing to people like him until it threatens their comfort. The taller boy's voice cracked. "We just wanted clothes," the younger one whispered, tears forming. "Why do they hate us?" The crowd's silence was suffocating, pressing against my lungs. I felt it choke me more than the manager's words ever could. This is the betrayal, not just his racism, but their silence. Their choice to stand still while injustice bloomed in front of them. I lifted my voice, shaking but steady. You all see this? You know it's wrong, and you hide behind silence because speaking up costs too much. But do you know what costs more? A child growing up believing he's guilty just for existing. Gasps stirred the air, but still no one moved. A teenager raised her phone halfway, then lowered it again when her father hissed, "Stop filming!" The manager sneered, louder now, feeding on their quiet compliance. "Go ahead, make your speech. No one's listening. You'll leave. They'll leave. And this store will stay clean." My chest twisted at the word. Clean, as if our presence was dirt. As if scrubbing us out restored his world to order. I whispered to myself, low enough only I could hear. This silence is the dirtiest thing here. The taller boy tugged my sleeve gently. His eyes searched mine, wide and pleading. Are they just gonna let him do this? I swallowed hard. They've been letting people like him do this for centuries. My voice broke on that last word, but I forced it louder. Not today. Not this time. The younger boy's lip quivered. But what if they hurt us? I crouched slightly so my eyes met his. Then we face it together. Fear doesn't get to own you. Behind me, whispers trickled through the crowd. He's right. No, don't get involved. This is uncomfortable. Uncomfortable? I snapped, turning my glare toward the voices. If your discomfort is the worst thing you carry out of here, then you're blessed. These boys carry scars that never heal because people like you choose silence. The manager clapped mockingly, slow and sarcastic. Bravo, the activist speaks. But this is my store and my rules. The words stabbed at me. My store, my rules, my world. And in it, we're always outsiders. My chest heaved. Your rules don't erase their humanity. A ripple of murmurs, a crack in the silence. A woman near the back finally whispered, He's right. But before the moment could grow, the mall's loudspeaker buzzed overhead. The cold, sterile voice of authority filled the store. Security, report to aisle 7. The sound echoed like a sentence being read. The taller boy's breath hitched. "They're really coming for us?" The younger one clutched his brother's arm. "We didn't do anything." I clenched my fist so hard my nails dug crescents into my palms. "I know, and that's why we don't back down." "Let them come! Let them all see what silence creates." The crowd hushed again, the silence thicker, heavier, almost unbearable. I stared at the manager, whose smirk spread wider, feeding on the weight of that quiet, and deep in my chest rage burned into resolve. If silence was their shield, my voice would be the hammer to break it. 2 guards pushed through the crowd, their radios crackling, their eyes already sharp with suspicion. "Step aside." "Sir," one of them ordered, voice clipped, rehearsed. "We'll handle this." "Handle what?" I snapped, heat rushing to my face. 2 kids trying to buy shirts? The taller boy's voice broke into a whisper. "We didn't steal anything." The younger one clung to his brother's sleeve. "Please, we didn't." The store manager folded his arms with triumph, lips curling. "Finally." "Took you long enough. Caught them red-handed." "Red-handed?" I barked, chest tightening. "You've got nothing but your prejudice. Where's the theft? Where's the proof?" The guard ignored me, turning to the boys. "Empty your pockets," the taller boy stammered. "We didn't empty them," the guard repeated, harder now, his hand resting on the cuff of his belt like a threat. My stomach twisted. "I've been here before. I was their age once, pockets inside out, dignity shredded, all because someone decided my skin was suspicious." I whispered, almost choking on the memory. "Don't let them break you, boys. You're not thieves," the manager snorted. "That's exactly what a thief's cheerleader would say." The younger boy's lips quivered. "Why are they doing this to us?" The taller one whispered, "Because of how we look." Those words carved into me like glass. They weren't just guesses. They were truths carved from centuries. I stepped forward, my voice trembling but firm. "You're criminalizing innocence. Do you hear yourselves? These are children." The first guard raised his palm toward me. "Back off, sir, or you'll be removed too." "Removed?" My voice cracked with fury. "Removed for telling the truth? For daring to stand where silence used to choke me?" The manager leaned closer to the guards. "See how aggressive he is? This is what I deal with, aggressive." The word struck me like a lash. That word has stolen lives. It turns our pain into their excuse, our fear into their permission. I clenched my fists. "Don't twist this. You created this scene. You humiliated them, and now you want to bury the evidence under uniforms." The crowd shifted uneasily. Whispers leaked out. "Is this really necessary? Why can't the kids just show their pockets?" "Because they shouldn't have to," I thundered, my voice shaking the silence. "Because every time we comply, every time we empty ourselves to prove we're clean, we teach them that suspicion is stronger than innocence. And I refuse to teach that lesson again." The taller boy looked at me, eyes wide, voice trembling. "What if they don't believe us?" I swallowed hard. My chest felt like stone. "Then we make them confront their own lie." The younger boy whispered. "I'm scared." I crouched down so my face met theirs, my voice softer now. "So was I, the first time this happened to me." "But you're not alone." "Not this time," the guard's radio crackled. Aisle 7 confirmed. "Detain if necessary, detain." My knees went weak for a second. That word carries chains, records, futures stolen. That word is where humiliation turns into lifelong punishment. I stood tall, locking eyes with the guards. "If you lay a hand on them, you'll be the ones exposed. This crowd is watching. This silence will break." The manager laughed bitterly. "The crowd, please. They don't care." "They never do." And for a moment, he was right. Their eyes dropped, their lips sealed. Complicity dripped from their silence. But I refused to let it end there. My voice rose, trembling but unyielding. "You will not treat them like criminals just because they dared to exist in your store. If you call this justice, then justice is already rotten." The guards hesitated, exchanging glances. Doubt flickered for just a breath. The taller boy whispered, "Do we fight back?" "No," I murmured, steadying my voice. "We stand. We hold the line. Let them reveal who they truly are." The younger boy's eyes brimmed with tears. But no one's helping. I pressed my hand over my chest. I am. And that's enough to start. Behind us, the crowd stirred again. Hesitant murmurs, shifting feet, nervous breaths. The silence was cracking, just barely. Like ice before the flood. The manager hissed at the guards. Well, do your job. Remove them. The first guard reached for the boys. My chest burned, every nerve screaming. I stepped between them. Touch them, and you'll have to drag me out too. My voice carried, louder than I knew I had in me. And the silence broke. Not with cheers, not yet, but with a gasp that rippled through the mall, the sound of complicity unraveling. A faint click reached my ears, the unmistakable sound of a phone camera being raised. I turned my head just slightly and caught it, the shaky grip of a teenager holding her phone, eyes darting nervously at her father. He hissed, "Put that down!" She whispered back, "No, people need to see this." My chest swelled with something I hadn't felt all night, hope cracking through the suffocating silence. The taller boy tugged my arm, whispering, "They're gonna see this." "Aren't they?" "Yes," I murmured, keeping my eyes locked on the manager. "And once they do, he won't be able to hide behind silence anymore." The manager snorted, catching the glint of the phone. "Oh, wonderful. Another internet hero. Go ahead, post your lies. Nobody cares. This'll be forgotten tomorrow," the younger boy whispered, voice trembling. "But what if it's not?" I crouched slightly so my voice hit only their ears. "Then the truth will finally scream louder than his smirk." The manager barked at the crowd. "Go on, keep filming. All you'll catch is two kids refusing to cooperate. That's the story here. Thieves in training. Thieves!" My voice cracked like thunder. "Thieves for wanting clothes? For breathing in the wrong store?" Murmurs rippled through the onlookers. "This doesn't feel right. Why won't he leave them alone? Why is security just standing there?" The guards shifted uneasily but stayed rooted, eyes bouncing between me, the boys, and the growing circle of phones being raised. The taller boy's lip quivered. "Do you think they'll believe us?" I swallowed hard, my own memories clawing back. The first time I was accused of shoplifting gum, the cashier's disgusted glare, the silence of strangers. I know how it feels when truth bends beneath their suspicion. I placed a hand on his shoulder. "They'll see what I see. Innocence being buried under his hate. And when they see it, the silence breaks." The younger one muttered, "Why didn't anyone speak before the phones came out?" His words pierced deeper than any insult. Because silence is cheap until it costs nothing. Because bravery only arrives when someone else holds the receipt. The manager sneered louder, sensing the shift but refusing to lose ground. "You think a video will change anything? The world's full of clips like this. They'll scroll right past it." "No," I whispered, more to myself than him. "This won't be scrolled past. Because tonight, the mall will remember the sound of its own silence." A woman in the back finally raised her voice, shaking. "Stop this. They're just kids." Another man snapped at her. "Stay out of it. You'll make trouble." The teenager with the phone muttered, "It's already trouble." The taller boy's shoulders sagged. "I don't want to be trouble. I just wanted a hoodie." My throat burned. "You are not trouble. You are the proof that dignity scares men who only know power." The crowd's whispers grew louder, overlapping. "This looks bad. He shouldn't have said that. Is this live?" The manager's smirk twitched. "Post your video." "I don't care. Nothing's changing. They'll leave humiliated like always." I stepped closer, locking eyes with him. "Not this time. Tonight your cruelty doesn't get the last word." The younger boy whispered. "Why do you sound so sure?" Because the ripple was already spreading. Phones lifted higher, screens glowing. Whispers turned into shaky confrontations. The silence wasn't gone yet, but it was cracking wide open. And then the teenager near the back muttered into her phone, just loud enough to hear, "It's live. People are watching." My chest tightened. The world was entering aisle 7. The lie no longer belonged to him alone. The taller boy whispered, "Then they'll know?" I nodded, voice trembling with both rage and relief. "They'll know. And once truth leaks out, it never goes back into silence." The manager looked around, smirk faltering for the first time. His eyes darted to the glowing screens, then back to me. He muttered, almost choking, "Turn them off! All of you!" Now! But nobody lowered their phones, and in that moment I realized the silence was no longer his ally. It was about to be his sentence. A chime went off. Then another. The faint buzz of notifications began to ripple through the crowd. Heads bent toward glowing screens, whispers darting like sparks across dry wood. A man near the front muttered, half laughing, half shocked, "It's already online." The store manager's smirk flickered. "So what? People post garbage every day. It'll vanish in the feed," a woman snapped, holding up her phone. "Not this. It's spreading." "Look, hundreds of views already," the taller boy whispered, almost in awe. "They can't ignore us now." The younger one clutched his brother's arm. "Does that mean we're safe?" I swallowed, forcing calm into my voice. "It means the truth is louder than his lies tonight." The manager barked over us, desperate. "Don't believe everything you see on a screen. These kids are thieves. His finger jabbed at me, is a troublemaker, trying to stir up drama." My stomach twisted at the word. Trouble. The mask they always put on our faces when they want to erase our humanity. I stepped closer, my voice steady but burning. "Drama? No, this is dignity. And you just exposed yourself for what you are." A shopper near the back shouted, "You just made yourself famous for all the wrong reasons." The crowd stirred, murmurs swelling. Phones lifted higher, recording every tremor in his voice. The taller boy raised his chin, trembling but resolute. "All we wanted was to buy clothes." The younger one's voice cracked, sharp with hurt. "Not to be treated like criminals." Their words hit harder than anything I could have said. They weren't speeches. They were wounds raw and undeniable. Gasps rippled through the crowd. A mother whispered to her child, "Listen to them." The manager stumbled, his voice catching. You're twisting this. I was protecting the store." I cut in, my throat tightening. Protecting from what? Children holding shirts? Or was it the color of their hands that made you call for chains? The silence that followed was heavier than stone. Then a teenager muttered loudly, "He never would have said that to me." His skin was pale. His arms folded with anger. Others joined, voices layering. He went too far. "This isn't right. Why didn't anyone stop him sooner?" The guards shifted uneasily, their authority thinning with every voice that broke free. The manager's face reddened, sweat beading on his brow. This is a setup." "You're all falling for a performance," my voice cracked as I snapped back. "The only performance here is yours. Pretending racism is policy. Pretending cruelty is protection." The taller boy whispered, trembling. "Why is he still talking?" "Because silence was always his shield," I muttered, my fists clenching. "Now it's gone, and he doesn't know how to breathe without it." The younger one whispered, "Do they believe us now?" I nodded, though my chest ached. "They do. And belief is the first crack in a wall that's been here too long." Another notification buzzed. A shopper murmured, "It's already on the local newsfeed." The manager's eyes widened. No, take it down. You don't understand what this will do." I stepped forward, close enough that he could see the fury in my eyes. "We understand perfectly. You built your power on silence. Tonight, silence turned its back on you." The taller boy's whisper reached me again, fragile but steady. "Then maybe we finally matter." I looked at him, my throat burning. "You always mattered. Tonight, the world is just being forced to remember." The crowd swelled, murmurs breaking into open condemnation. "You crossed the line." "Shameful." Enough is enough. Phones buzzed louder, as if the mall itself was alive with judgment. The sound was no longer silence. It was a storm echoing from pocket to pocket, screen to screen. The manager stumbled back, panic cracking his voice. "Stop filming!" This isn't how it looks. But no one lowered their phones, and for the first time that night, the power didn't belong to him. It belonged to the truth echoing across the mall. A ripple cut through the crowd, shoes clicking, radios buzzing, the heavy air of authority stepping in. Two men and a woman in crisp badges pushed forward. Their expressions weren't smirks, not suspicion, something colder. Decision. The manager straightened like salvation had walked in. "Finally, about time. You've seen the footage, right? These kids, these people," he jabbed a finger toward us. They're destroying this store's reputation. The taller boy whispered. He still thinks he's winning, I muttered. Not for long. One of the officials lifted a hand. His voice was low, steady, practiced. We've seen the footage. The manager jumped in, eager. Exactly. And that's why... The woman cut him off, her tone sharp as glass. That's why you're relieved of duty effective immediately. Gasps surged through the mall. My chest clenched, not in shock, but in release. The manager's face twisted, sweat glistening at his temple. What, you're choosing them over me? The official's words landed like a hammer. We're choosing humanity over hate. The crowd erupted. Applause, shouts, the long, suffocated air breaking free. The sound was thunder compared to the silence that had strangled us before. The taller boy blinked, whispering, Did they fire him? The younger one gripped his brother's sleeve tighter. Right here? In front of everyone? I nodded, my throat thick. Yes, because truth cornered him and there was nowhere left to run. The manager sputtered, voice cracking. You can't do this to me. I've worked here 20 years. They're lying, The woman cut him off again, colder now. You humiliated children. You weaponized suspicion. The world has already judged you. The manager's eyes darted to the crowd. Phones lifted high, recording every second of his unraveling. He muttered, choked, You'll regret this. All of you. A voice from the crowd shouted back, No! You'll regret it! Laughter, sharp and cathartic, burst through the mall. Not cruel laughter this time, but the kind that broke chains. The taller boy whispered, almost to himself, He can't hurt us anymore. I placed a hand on his shoulder. Not tonight. Tonight, his power collapsed under its own weight, the younger one whispered. Then, we won! I swallowed hard, eyes stinging. Justice isn't a game to win. But tonight, dignity stood taller than hate. The official turned toward me, his tone softer now. Thank you for standing your ground. If you hadn't spoken, this would have been buried. I almost laughed bitterly. It was nearly buried anyway. By silence, by fear. My chest trembled as I looked at the crowd. But the silence cracked, and the sound of justice was louder than his mockery. The applause swelled again. People clapped, cheered, even shouted, Enough is enough! Phones stayed raised, capturing not just his fall, but our endurance. The manager slumped, muttering, You'll all forget tomorrow. You always do. I met his eyes one last time, steady, unwavering. No, tomorrow they'll remember the sound of you falling. The crowd roared, and in that roar I felt the echo of every silence that had once betrayed me finally shatter. The roar of applause faded, like thunder rolling into still air. Then came something I hadn't expected. Silence. Not the silence of betrayal. Not the choking quiet I'd felt earlier. This silence was different. Heavy. Waiting. The taller boy stepped forward, his hands shaking. His voice cracked, but he forced the words out. We just wanted to be seen as human. Gasps rippled. A mother clutched her child tighter. Phones trembled in people's hands. The younger one whispered, eyes glistening. We weren't here to steal. We weren't here to cause trouble. We just wanted to feel normal. To belong. My throat burned. Their voices weren't polished speeches. They were wounds opened raw in front of strangers. Wounds everyone could finally see. The silence thickened, but now it wasn't cowardice. It was reverence. A space carved for their dignity, I whispered, almost to myself. Do you hear them now? A man in the back murmured, We hear them. Another voice followed, shaky but loud enough, and we believe them. The taller boy's chin lifted, though his body trembled. Then why didn't you before? The words struck the crowd like stones. Some lowered their heads, shame filling the space where excuses used to live. The younger one looked around, voice trembling but stronger than before. If we weren't us, if our skin was different, would you have stayed quiet? No one answered. But the silence itself became the answer. I stepped closer, my chest heavy, my voice breaking. Your silence before was betrayal. Tonight, this silence is something else. It's witness. It's change. The crowd stood frozen, but this time they weren't protecting themselves. They were holding the moment, cradling it in stillness so the boy's truth could breathe. The taller boy whispered, softer now. Then maybe we matter. I placed a hand on his shoulder, my voice steady despite the ache in my chest. You always mattered. Tonight, the world just remembered. The silence lingered, vast, unbroken, like a cathedral built not of stone but of human hearts finally listening. And in that silence, I felt it, the weight of centuries shifting, even if just an inch. Their silence now wasn't comfort. It was witness. It was change. The mall had emptied in fragments, whispers, hurried steps, screens still glowing in trembling hands. Yet I stood there, rooted in the quiet aftermath. The boys lingered near me, their faces pale but steadier than before. One of them broke the silence first. His voice was raw, hesitant. Do you think it'll be different tomorrow? The question pierced deeper than any insult I'd endured that night. My chest tightened. Tomorrow. How many tomorrows had I asked myself the same thing when I was their age? I crouched slightly, meeting his eyes. It will, I murmured, my throat thick. Because today the whole mall heard you. The younger one shook his head, almost whispering. They hear us now, but tomorrow they'll forget. My hands trembled. I clenched them at my sides before resting one gently on his shoulder. They won't forget. Not this time. That silence we felt, it shifted. People can't unsee what they saw, can't unhear what you spoke. The older boy's lip quivered. All we wanted was to buy shirts. The simplicity of it shattered me. My breath hitched as I whispered, and yet they tried to strip you of dignity. He stared at the floor. Why do they always think we're criminals? I swallowed hard. Flashbacks clawed at me, being cornered in a store, a hand gripping my bag, a voice hissing, "Empty your pockets or I'll call the cops." I had been their age. My shame had been swallowed in silence. I forced my voice steady. Because they're blinded. But tonight you showed them light. The younger one's eyes glistened. You think people like him? People like that manager? They'll ever change? I let the silence hang. My fists ached from holding back rage. Some won't. Some can't. But others will be forced to when the world refuses to clap for their cruelty. The taller boy whispered almost defiantly. I don't want pity. I just want respect. I nodded sharply, my voice firm. Then take it, claim it. Respect isn't theirs to give, it's yours to hold. The younger one finally met my gaze, fragile but fierce. And you? Why did you speak up when everyone else stayed quiet? I exhaled slowly. Because I remember what it felt like when no one spoke for me. I swore I'd never let that silence swallow another child if I could help it. The taller boy's shoulders shook. Do you think we mattered tonight? My voice cracked, but I didn't hide it. You didn't just matter. You reminded them all what humanity looks like. You forced them to see what they tried so hard to ignore. We stood in that emptied mall, echoes of earlier jeers still clinging to the walls. Yet now there was no mockery, no laughter, only the echo of truth. The younger boy whispered, softer than a prayer. Maybe tomorrow, we'll walk in and just be kids. I closed my eyes, pain and hope twisting inside me. Tomorrow you'll walk in as more than kids. You'll walk in as voices no one can silence. Their small nods felt like seeds breaking ground. I held on to that image, clung to it as if it were lifeblood. As we walked toward the exit, I let my hand rest briefly over my heart. My thoughts churned, heavy yet clear. That night I realized silence can destroy, but silence can also rebuild. Tonight their silence wasn't betrayal, it was witness. It was the sound of a world forced to listen, and for the first time in years I felt it. Dignity not stolen but reclaimed.